Chapter 1. Did you sleep with the wrong person? Lisa got up from the bed in a haze. Her thoughts were so confused that she did not quite feel like herself. The sumptuous sheets brushing her palm were not the normal ones that she had cleaned till they aged. The light over her head was likewise not the half-damaged, energy-saving lamp that she was accustomed to waking up to. Her body felt horribly as if it had just been torn apart by something. When she lifted her wrist, the purplish-green marks on it were plain and obvious to the sight. That was not a dream, huh? She covered her mouth to stop herself from making any noise and lifted the blanket. When she saw that her body was entirely naked, she almost let out a scream. Lisa's astute eyes rolled along the bottom of her eyelids twice. She decisively pulled the covers and got out of bed. After retrieving her disheveled clothes, she recklessly put them on and prepared to depart without looking back. Suddenly, someone grabbed the back of her neck. Let go of me. Let go. Lisa struggled with her arms and legs. The man's enormous hand was yanking her neck, and he jerked her back to the bed with virtually little effort. Despite being thoroughly perplexed by the manner she was handled, Lisa could not help but be fascinated by the man when she gazed up at him. Her fascinated gaze fixed on his incomparably lovely face, unable to look away. What a gorgeous man! His brooding eyes seemed to exude an aura of natural arrogance. His face was as frigid as ice, and his straight nose perched high on his clear, pale face. His white, jade-like complexion made Lisa, who felt she had reasonably nice skin, envious. She knew that she had seen her fair number of males, but in front of this specimen, those dubious male gods were immediately dwarfed by him. Was this the same man who had tormented her yesterday till she was half dead in the span of half a night? Who sent you here? How dare you drug me after committing something like that? You believe you can still leave here unharmed? He glanced at this blanked-out woman, wrath flaring deep in his eyes. This unusual woman had skin as fair as snow, a charmingly petite face, and a pair of wide, expressive eyes. Her eyelids fluttered like a deer in headlights, but she gazed at him unyieldingly. James's gaze fixed on Lisa as her eyes started to move swiftly along with her head. She was merely a D-list celebrity. After suffering through numerous challenges, she had found out today that a list celebrity Nathan was here. Thus, she specifically acquired certain condiments that could cause one lose consciousness and put them in his drink, thinking that she could take advantage of him. However, she had drugged the wrong individual. The person before her, albeit dizzyingly handsome, was evidently not the top celebrity Nathan. He tugged roughly on her arm again, sending her to the ground embarrassingly. She even rolled over once before recovering her bearings. What are you doing? Do you think I'd still be sleeping here if I drugged you? You must be mistaken. The person who is suffering the most right now is me. Hurt owing to the fall, irrespective of her damaged arm. Worst of all, the agony in her nether regions could not be ignored. Incensed with wrath, she said directly, "The person I wanted to drug was someone else. It has nothing to do with you. You believe you're worth drugging. Yours sincerely does not put her hands on just anyone. Return me my drug money." Drug the wrong person. James's face stiffened and his brow furrowed, making 3 vertical wrinkles. His jet-black pupils looked like those of a crouching beast, ones that were staring at this woman in disheveled clothes. Half of her snow-white shoulder was exposed, and the purplish-green bruises on it were all the more obvious, like plum blossoms blooming on her fragile, white skin. The visions of the previous night ran through his thoughts a second time. His lower abdomen instantly heated up again, and he felt the evident desire flowing through his body. He averted his gaze away from her. This wretched lady. How dare she drug him? And with such a strong medicine, his temporary loss of attention ultimately provided Lisa an opportunity. In her frustration, she leaped from the bed and shoved the man away, not daring to look back. She immediately ran out. Upon hearing him hiss, she asked, "What are you looking at? Go look at yourself." "You?" James was just about to turn around and grab her when he felt a wave of discomfort. His lower part was once again standing tall and proud. "Damn it," he cursed angrily. He tightened his fist in an attempt to stop that wicked impulse. A sequence of sounds traveled in from outside. Ryan looked back as he was so startled that his jaws could not close. What was that earlier situation? Why did a woman in unkempt clothes of all things run out of Sarah's room as Sir Nathan called to inquire if the room was satisfactory? But you fell asleep quickly after you arrived back yesterday night, so the subordinates did not disturb you. The assistant has notified the president of your schedule. He is waiting for you at the presidential residence. Also, the person I saw earlier. Shut up. James elevated his sharp eyes, his pupils sparkling. Ryan promptly swallowed. All the doubts that he should not have been having dot in the restroom. James vigorously cleaned his body until his skin got sore. Only then did he gaze into the mirror and swear loudly, ******, sir. Madam is here. Ryan informed him softly. From outside, fear coloring his voice. James froze. His mother coming over at the moment could not be good news when he opened the bathroom door. The attractive lady standing outside was looking at the filthy bed in shock. The strewn sheets that were not ordered indicated to anyone exactly what had transpired the night before. James's eyes darkened. He grabbed the bathrobe and placed it over his honey-colored shoulders. I know what you want to ask. But Mother, I'm very busy today. How could Sarah not ask? She could hardly disguise the thrill on her face. Looking at James, she pointed to the bed and added, James, I already know. You slept with a girl. James pushed the door wide and remarked coldly to Sarah, Can you keep your hands off of this matter? How can I not care? James, you must marry this girl. You must be responsible for what you did to her. He knew she would say so. Mother, I will not marry her. I'm not crazy, she's just a stranger. I don't even know her name. Her name is Lisa. She's 23 years old. She's the illegitimate daughter of the Carter family and has two elder sisters and one younger brother. Her mother died when she was little, and her father does not appear to care about her. She lives in the Carter residence, but she doesn't get any financial support from the family. Mother, James stood glued to the ground upon remembering the woman. He got even more frustrated. Are you still thinking about that Emily? I'm telling you, it's impossible between you and her. You've been with her for so many years. But you still couldn't even touch her. You two are not supposed to be together, Sarah said rudely. Mother, enough, James cut her off. However, Sarah was too angry. James, you know that you can't satisfy a woman at all because of your illness. The family has almost finished making preparations for artificial insemination, so that you can have a child. However, you touched a woman. Today, it must signify that she's the one most suitable for you. Chapter 2. She's just a stranger who suddenly appeared. Mother, she used an unorthodox method. It has nothing to do with my disease becoming better, James said, his eyes darkening. Sarah stared at him and said, You think I've never tried that on you? It never worked, each time. We could only call for the doctor to manage it time and time again. But you touched her. Furthermore, your subordinate stated that you were really delighted with her and did it more than once the entire night. James placed his clenched palm on the tempered glass table and muttered, Maybe the drug this time was different. In any event, I won't marry this insane woman who doesn't have an ounce of morality. Mother, you should give up on this idea. As Lisa strolled on the streets and stared at the mess all over her body, she cursed silently in frustration. That damn drug seller. She had felt that something was amiss with him when she bought the medicine. All she had stated was that she needed a drug to help someone fall asleep. But she had never said that she wanted such a drug. Now, look at what the man did to her after swallowing it. She could still feel the ache throughout her body when she recalled what had happened. The intense discomfort in her nether regions recalled to mind the happenings of the previous night, where darned man had abused her numerous times to the point where she fainted, and could not recall anything else. The only thing she remembered from before. Lisa, look at yourself. You still want to be a celebrity. It's preferable to listen properly to your stepmother. I'll find you a suitable family to marry into. An illegitimate child is just an illegitimate child. You will always be second-rate. Lisa, stepmother is doing this for your own good. Your eldest sister, Olivia, is now a top celebrity. Your second sister is also a top producer. After so many years, You're still just a D-list celebrity. You have no prospects, little Lisa. The company has already allocated the role to someone else this time. We consider that your image does not suit the role." She laughed cruelly. If they had not driven her into a corner, she would not have come up with such a wicked idea. All she wanted was to continue living. But now, Lisa rushed to the company. Regardless of what had transpired, she did not forget that she had an audition today. Upon seeing her come, Emily's face clouded as she stared at Lisa and stated, "So you still came. I thought you didn't care about this audition, sorry." "Emily, I came late." Lisa hastily covered up the mess on her clothes with one look. Emily saw the marks on her neck. She bent her head and studied Lisa's garments. Pulling on Lisa's collar, she added, "We're meeting the director soon. I don't care about your personal life. However, if you still want this part, you best freshen yourself so you don't look like a prostitute." Lisa looked down at herself. Only then did she uncover the markings that left little to the imagination. They were too evident and too embarrassing. That dumb man, he was a real beast. Lisa immediately bent and apologized. Pulling on her clothes, she raced to the bathroom, thinking to herself it was all that man's fault. He had virtually put a stop to her life, or whatever future she had all of a sudden. Her phone started ringing. Lisa snatched up the phone in annoyance. "Hello? Lisa, where were you last night?" Richard sounded irritated on the phone. Richard hardly called her unless something was up. For many years, he was dispensable as a father. But Lisa could not consider him as a fully non-existent person after all. She still needed to live in the Carter household. Lisa pondered about what had happened last night. Feeling terrible, she stammered, "I had something on last night." "I don't care what you were busy with. Your sister, Olivia, wishes to address her engagement with the family today. How dare you remain out all night?" Richard rebuked strongly. Yes, Olivia was getting engaged, but it was none of her concern. Lisa listened attentively to her father's heated speech without a trace of sadness in her heart. After so many years, she had already become accustomed to his scoldings. "I don't care what you have going on. You must come back now. If I discover that you're not returning, I'll take out her ashes from the Carter family burial and hurl it into the sea so you'll never see any part of your mother for the rest of your life." When he finished speaking, Richard hung up the phone. The Carter household. Hannah watched as Richard put down the phone. She eagerly questioned, "Is she coming back?" Richard said, "She's coming back." Hannah extended out a hand to caress Richard's chest in an attempt to appease him. "Old master, you must have a talk with her so that she agrees to this marriage proposal." I was genuinely astonished when the Chase family abruptly proposed marriage. "Ethan is an exceptional girl. She's attractive and sensible. So how could I let her marry that retard? I even heard that he's incontinent. They just want Ethan to marry into their family so that they would have a maid. As for Lisa, she's an illegitimate child regardless. Who should go if not her?" "Don't worry," Richard continued, "I can't bear to let Ethan suffer either. But Lisa is also my daughter." "Great. So you mean that you'd make Ethan clean up someone else's feces and urine instead of Lisa? If that's the case, Richard, you really don't have a conscience. Back when you had this daughter with another lady, I let her stay in the Carter household and nurtured her up. Now that she's grown up, you wouldn't even let her assist me out a bit. Given her caliber, letting her marry into the Chase family to enjoy their money is an honor for her." All right. Seeing as Hannah had begun bringing up the past and was nagging excessively, Richard instantly stopped her and stated, "I'll make her go." "She'll go." Ryan had actually hesitated, but upon thinking, there was no one else to select besides Lisa. They could not afford to anger the Carter family. Although their son was a retard, they were, at least, rolling in money. Marrying Lisa into their family may be considered quite a reasonable treatment for her. Then, the housekeeper called from outside. "Old master, madam, third Mrs. Bagg." The housekeeper replied to Lisa, "Old master and madam are waiting for you inside. First Miss is discussing her engagement today. Therefore your brother-in-law is here too." Lisa gazed at the housekeeper in disbelief. "Nathan is here." The housekeeper answered, "Yes, he went in right before you." pleasantly surprised. Lisa hurried into the home, only to stop a second later inside. Nathan and Olivia were standing together in the corridor. They were leaning close together, their mouths practically touching. It was a poor time to disturb them. Lisa stood there rooted, forgetting to even walk away. When she finally managed to turn around, she felt a slap on her face which nearly sent her to the ground. As her cheek burned, Emily grabbed her and pushed her inside a room. After shutting the door, Emily turned back to stare at Lisa. She pointed accusingly at Lisa and shouted, "You shameless whore. Don't think I didn't see what you were up to. That is your brother-in-law. How shameless can you be to dare attempt at enticing him?" Lisa stood rooted to the ground. Holding her burned cheek, Lisa sneered at Emily and said, "Stepmother, if I really wanted to seduce him, I wouldn't be just standing there and watching." Chapter 3. We brought you up. Shouldn't you repay us, you? Emily's lungs were about to explode with wrath. As Lisa was about to depart, Emily snatched her by the shoulder and sent her directly to the ground. "Have you not looked at yourself? We've been looking after you for so long with a boat as soft as heart. How can you say back to me when we saved you from dying on the streets with your crazy mother? So what if I hit you?" However, the apparent marks on Lisa's neck appeared before her as clear as day. It was offensive to the eye. As if she had made some profound revelation. Emily remarked as if she was crazy, Well, Lisa, I knew you had evil intentions towards our family. You're just like your mother, only knowing how to go around charming people. Go somewhere else if you want to entice someone. Don't embarrass yourself in our house. Ryan is a successor of the Ryan family. Do you believe that a whore like you is good enough for him? He won't even spare you a glance." Emily's smack did not make Lisa upset at all. However, this simple sentence was enough to pierce through Lisa's heart. Despite so, Lisa started laughing. She chuckled as she pulled up her garments to cover her shoulders and stroked her clothes nonchalantly as she added, "If you think I'm not good enough for him, so much so that he won't even look at me. Why are you so anxious?" Emily heard some sounds coming from outside. Ryan was conversing with Olivia. Their talk and laughter made her nervous, afraid of being found. Emily lowered her voice and leaned closer to Lisa. She said threateningly, "Don't play any tricks." After pondering for a time, she spoke again. "People from the Carter family are arriving later with their second son, Ethan. Don't say that I don't care about you. I'll let you meet him later. The Carter family has a solid reputation and background in our country. If you marry into their family, you will have unlimited prosperity." Lisa's gaze wavered. Of course, she knew who the second son of the Carter family was. "Stepmother, you want me to marry a retard?" And she even claimed that it was out of care for her. Lisa let out a yell of outrage. "What? You don't want to? Marry him yourself if you want to. I'm not a puppet that you can manipulate." Lisa hastily wrenched open the door. Seeing this, Emily held her back with all her effort. Lisa pushed her fears aside at that moment. She turned around and pushed Emily aside. Sprawled out on the ground, Emily shouted angrily, "Lisa, if you dare to leave, I will make sure your father throws out your mother's ashes." Lisa raced out in desperation. Meanwhile, James was shortly called back to the James family mansion. Naturally, the occurrence had been swiftly reported to his grandfather, Richard, who was also the head of the family. James remained resolute in his attitude. He glanced at Richard before him and said, "Grandfather, Mother does not grasp the problem at all. That woman and I did not sleep together of our own accord. It was merely an accident." "James, why must you be so stubborn? Think about it. Would it really be unbearable for you to marry her? You have already touched her. Don't you miss that feeling even a tiny bit?" "Not at all," James said. "James, I'm extremely disappointed in you." The calm and aged Richard glared coldly at James with his powerful aura. James glared at Sarah, who stood behind him. However, Sarah bore a self-righteous face. "Our James family will surely take responsibility for what we've done. Furthermore, she's not just necessary for you to have a normal marital life. She's also the key to cure your condition. You should be more sensible. In any event, you slept with the girl. You can't just take advantage of her and then forget about everything." Richard added. James stared at his aging grandfather and continued, "But I do not know her at all." "Grandfather, how can I agree to marrying a total stranger? What if I tell you that if you don't get married, I will make your little lover? What's her name? Hannah, right? I would make her lose her career so that she feels that it's better to be dead than alive." Richard's eyes were startlingly similar to James. When he issued a threat, his stare was serene, but his eyes transmitted a concealed current of frigid brutality. James said, "You know that I won't let you get away with it." Richard remarked, "I know that your wings have toughened and I can no longer control you. All three of you have been rebellious. One by one became a president, another became a celebrity, and you have always been mature but rebellious. But even if I can't do anything to you, I definitely have my ways of teasing a small girl. You can try me." Disgust flashed in James' eyes, but they darkened into a faint gleam. Lisa just ran a few steps before she saw numerous automobiles driving over noisily. People from the Carter family. Lisa wanted to go, but it was evident that the Carter family took this extremely seriously. Nearly all of them had been mobilized, and they soon surrounded Lisa. "Lass, I'm doing this for your own benefit. Still, you dare run away? Go and bring her back for me." Lisa stared at Emily, suppressing the temptation to hurry up and slap her. However, she was eventually alone and could not prevail over these people who had strength in numbers. With her hands bound behind her back, Lisa was carried back to the Carter residence. The makeup artist came to freshen Lisa up while Hannah glared at her murderously. She reprimanded her arrogantly. "To think that someone like you is attempting to escape me? In a time, you better be suited up to meet Ryan." Lisa clenched her teeth and tried a little, but it was all fruitless as Hannah glanced at Lisa after she had been freshened up. She thought to herself, "This girl looks quite attractive when she's dressed up. Her delicate face is enough to keep her on any man's mind." She thought to herself, "She has to be married into the Miller family as soon as possible. Otherwise, she would always be near Ethan. If Ethan actually falls in love with her, then Olivia's position would be threatened." Someone outside announced Ryan's arrival. Under Hannah's direction, Lisa was instantly released from her shackles and forced to the front. Through the door, she could hear the Miller family's enthusiastic voices. "We all know that the third miss is just an illegitimate daughter. She's not really worthy of our Ryan, but she does appear rather lovely in images after marrying into our family. As long as she helps continue the Miller family's bloodline, she will benefit significantly in the future. Give birth." Lisa sneered and thought, was she being treated as an instrument for procreation? Lisa spotted a man standing there with a short stature of 1.6 meters. He was convulsing, jerking his head constantly as he gazed about. Like a messy child, he was chewing on his fingers. Hannah grinned and added, "You see, Lisa, this is your future hubby. Your golden days are coming soon, of course." Lisa could hear the arrogance and mockery in Hannah's comments. Then, Ryan abruptly slipped into a fit of crazy, wailing loudly. He launched himself at the individuals on the side. The individuals within were thrown into immense panic and commotion. People from the Miller family and the Carter family surrounded the lunatic fully. Hannah was shocked. The way that the crazy appeared as he barged about was so horrible to her that she almost vomited. In her heart, she felt relieved. Fortunately, it was now Lisa who had to marry him, not Sarah. Otherwise, she would have genuinely perished from fury. She then turned around and saw that there was no one beside her. Lisa? Where did Lisa go? Go after her. Give her a solid thrashing when you catch her. The sight in Hannah's eyes altered as her face screwed up. Lisa did not know how she had escaped. She only knew that when she was finally alone, her lungs were about to explode from running. But exactly at that time, she observed a car parked casually to the side. Lisa's head stopped moving. Behind the automobile glass, James's scornful face loomed before her eyes. Chapter 4. "I'm not marrying you," the man remarked coldly. "We need to talk." Lisa raised her head nervously and said, "How did you find me?" When she got into his car, she stared at his flawless profile, only to be captivated by his attractiveness. It was a pity that his demeanor did not match up to his good appearance. However, he did not look at her. Instead, he turned coolly to the side and replied, "How much money do I have to give you in order for you to marry me?" What? Had she misheard him? He added directly, "Since we can't undo what we did, I have to fulfill my responsibility by marrying you." Her. "I don't think that's necessary." Lisa assumes that he was joking, as if he knew what she was thinking. He turned his head and replied, "I'm not joking. I need to marry you. If you agree, we can sign the marriage document now. I suggest you just seize this uncommon opportunity." Lisa was at a loss for words, except to start laughing. This man spoke as if marrying him was a fantastic thing. However, he wasn't his younger brother Nathan. If she could marry Nathan, she definitely would not need to work so hard to get her name out there. Lisa responded, "What benefits will I get out of marrying you?" James felt sickened when he peered into her eyes. "If you're my wife, I'll pay for all of your expenses. I can also provide you with accommodations. If you have a partner or someone you like, I'll give you the money you deserve when we divorce so that no man will be able to look down on you. Furthermore, I can get rid of any hurdle in your way. Trust me, this marriage will only do you good. You won't regret it." After hearing the first portion of his speech, Lisa thought that this joke was getting out of hand. However, she felt a little tempted when she heard the last condition he offered. Indeed, she would not have to return to the Carter household or marry the retard from the Collins family if she married him. But could he really help her? "So, do you mean we'll eventually get a divorce?" Lisa asked. She was thinking divorce now? But she was right. Since it was a marriage of convenience, it was not incorrect to contemplate the potential benefits at the outset. James nodded. "Yes, when I decide to divorce you, you must comply with me. I will find a reasonable excuse, and I will make sure not to tarnish our reputation. But I must remind you that we will sign a prenuptial agreement. You can't want any other benefits." "Hey, you're really rude." "I don't want any additional benefits from you," Lisa said, having reached the limit of her patience. James opened the door of his Porsche. "We don't need manners in this marriage. It's not like we'll be growing old together." "But, are you absolutely sure that we're really getting married? You know that I just met you? We don't understand each other at all." Lisa was still hesitant. James stared at her and replied, "What else do we need to know? I comprehend every nook and crevice of your body. You." Lisa blushed deeply when reliving that night. "That wasn't my fault alone. I've already explained it to you. After all, she was still a girl." She scowled fiercely at James, but his countenance remained passive, making her even angrier. James looked back and said, "Fine. I won't bring this up again. Also, I recognize that marriage is a major step to take. As my wife, I promise to respect you and to make our lives as comfortable as possible. I'm not attempting to con you into marriage. Since I've decided to do it, I will treat it seriously." James's passive face exhibited an elegant posture and tranquility. His wonderful atmosphere was really appealing. It was possibly this that made Lisa believe that marrying him was not a horrible idea at all. Silently, she nodded her head. James let out a breath of relief. He softly signaled to the driver to start. The engine. Marriage was an extraordinarily short process. For a marriage without love, everything was as simple as signing a contract outside. A driver alighted from a black Porsche. He stepped up to Lisa and respectfully removed her luggage. With his head bowed, he said cheerfully, "Madam, please make your way into the car." Lisa nodded. She was still unaccustomed to being called madam. On her opposite side, the man who had been expressionless from the start moved past her to stand near the automobile. Without a doubt, her husband was so attractive that he could arouse the fury of all gods and mortals. That face with its lofty nose and deep, peaceful eyes might infatuate anyone under his rich hair. His face was pale and clear yet lacking of femininity. His thin physique had an enticing charm with it. James turned around as he gazed at Lisa. He stated monotonously, "I've already informed my family that there won't be a wedding. That would be best. It's meant to be a covert marriage. I don't want things to blow out either," Lisa said. Upon hearing this, James sneered. After all, the method you used was improper. If someone were to find out, you would only be more embarrassed. Hey, James, I said that it was merely an accident. Lisa's calm face clouded. Whenever the issue came up, she felt bad that her carelessness had caused it to happen. Furthermore, both of them had been at fault. She was not the only one to be blamed. James drew in a breath. He knew that he had gone overboard, having already pledged not to bring it up again. Sorry. He looked at Lisa's flushing face and said, I apologize. We signed the agreement, and I'm not supposed to mention it again. I was just being impulsive. But you have to know that I'm not marrying you out of my free will. I have someone I love. Lisa noticed the sincerity in his voice. She lifted her head to give his face a sideward glance. She honestly felt terrible for him. He was compelled to marry a random stranger all because of her error. The thought calmed her down. It's all right. I can understand. We just got married and we still have to live together in the future. Adjusting to each other is unavoidable. Yes, I'll get used to it as soon as possible. I hope that you'll perform as a contract. Terms say, don't worry, I'm a professional actor. I'll take our contract seriously. I'll act like I'm in love with you in front of the Carter family and play my job perfectly. I also hope that you can follow the contract. This is a false marriage. Let's not have any physical contact, Lisa said, of course. However, you should realize that we must live together to eliminate my family's suspicions. Sure. I stated that I will cooperate as long as you don't meddle with my life. Don't worry. I've never been interested in uncultured, ill-mannered, and shabby ladies like you, James said while his eyes swept over her face. That's just nice. Neither am I interested in men who are wolves in sheep's clothing with no abilities in bed. Ones who only know how to employ sheer force, Lisa said adamantly. You. James's gorgeous face clouded over. His eyes flared with hatred as he glared at Lisa. It was wrong of her to nonchalantly disparage his behavior in bed. Chapter 5. Let's get married. What? I was saying the truth, and anyway, you criticized me first. Lisa's crescent eyes stared at him. All right, I'm sorry, it was my fault. I shouldn't have said it, James said while pulling at his clothes. Lisa nodded. I accept your apology. I won't touch you again anyway. Therefore, I won't discuss your skills anymore. James's face darkened even more. Resisting the impulse to throw another tantrum, he continued, while we're living together, we may have to share a bedroom, like a typical married couple, so that word doesn't get out. If my family hears about it, we'll be in trouble. I'll respect your freedom. You can make pals, and you can have your privacy. I won't ask about it as long as it doesn't jeopardize my reputation. Don't worry. I have my professional ethics. Since I'm married to you, I won't casually get involved in controversies. With other guys, we'll be divorcing soon anyhow. I can stomach this for at least these few years. Okay, it's a deal, of course. Although they were married in actuality, they were no different from two strangers who had just acquired a marriage license. As if he had performed some mission. James did not glance at his new bride again. Instead, he turned his head and beckoned to the others trailing after him outside. Lisa followed James past the downtown area and into a compound. There was a 3-story home in the courtyard. The person inside smiled at Lisa as she walked out of the car. His hands were clasped and his head was down as he added respectfully, Madam. You can call me Butler Richard. Oh? Dazed, Lisa looked inside. The courtyard was vast and open with a long and straight driveway leading in. A lush green meadow extended into the distance. This place was so enormous that she could not tell where it ended. James gazed at Lisa. You'll be staying here with me from now on. Oh, you'll be staying here too, of course. Are you prepared to live separately already when we just got married? No. I'm just confirming. Lisa raised her head and spoke, looking at her. James added, my parents don't usually come over. You can command the servants as you like. If you don't like the interior design, feel free to tell Butler Richard. You can modify whatever you want as long as you don't touch my bedroom and study room. How rude that would be, Lisa yelled. No. I'm not dissatisfied with anything. It would be extremely troublesome to renovate. James paused in his tracks and gazed at her with a distant glance. The way he casually leaned on a corner of the table was quite nice. Maybe folks with good looks looked good doing anything. James's hand rested on the table. His thin fingers gripped his wallet. Their bone structure was distinct and lovely, and those hands were certainly fitted to play the piano. "Butler Richard will take you around the house," he continued. "I hope you get used to your surroundings soon." Butler Richard promptly took her on a tour around the house. There was an uncomfortably huge number of rooms. The maids' quarters were outside. The kitchen was in the back, the living room was in the front, and the bedroom was above. She felt that she would definitely lose her way if she went around alone. Although Lisa's family was fairly respectable, their residence was obviously significantly different from this one. She turned around to look at Butler Richard. "This is James's house." "Yes, madam, from now on, it is also your house." Lisa looked around. "James seems to be pretty wealthy." "Yes, madam." Butler Richard stared at her with small skepticism. Then, Butler Richard grinned and remarked, "Although sir seems difficult to get along with, he's a good person. You'll get used to it eventually. Please just relax." Lisa pushed open the walnut-colored double doors to the bedroom immediately. She was presented with James's half-naked physique. As he stood beside the bathroom door, his slim, honey-colored torso appeared more beautiful after his recent shower. His muscles were symmetrically placed on his chest and arms, giving him the perfect V-shaped figure. The lines below his hip were also visible. Lisa took a long time to react. He wasn't wearing clothes. The white towel draped loosely around his lower body seemed like it was about to fall. Lisa shrieked in astonishment and raced out of the room, the door closing with a thud. Inside, James grimaced unhappily for a minute. He regretted succumbing to his family's request so easily. He preferred elegant women, ones that were calm and dignified with perfect etiquette and manners, just like Emily. But now, he was married to someone that he wasn't very compatible with. And it was all because of a silly reason. However, this woman was now actually his rightful wife. Lisa stood against the door with her hand on her chest. She could feel her heart still thumping furiously. The sight from earlier resurfaced in her imagination. This dude was just too handsome. His figure was so exquisite that she almost had a nosebleed. However, Lisa realized well that it was merely an accident. Although he was her spouse, this was merely a contract. The door opened. James had put on a set of casual clothes that took away some of the sternness he emanated earlier. However, he still looked frigid enough to free someone. He glanced at Lisa and continued, "Do you still want to come in?" Lisa stopped for a while before blurting, Sorry, I'll come in." He had previously established that they would live together after marriage. It was just that she had not gotten used to it. Under James's unchangingly distant glare, Lisa ran into the bedroom and closed the door. She understood that her prior reaction had been too powerful. Feeling rather helpless, she apologized to him. "Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. It's just that I'm still not comfortable with the idea that I'm married and that I live with you now. That's why I reacted in that way." James's gaze landed on her white and shining face. Compared to other ladies, her complexion was so white it almost seemed translucent. It seemed to be as silky and smooth as a baby's skin. He stopped before moving his eyes. Looking to the side, he continued, "I don't care what bad habits you used to have, but I hope that the first thing you learn here is to knock before you enter." Lisa replied indignantly, "Are you blaming me for coming in without knocking? How was I expected to know that you were naked? I think you should be the one to adjust. Now that there's someone living with you, you shouldn't just wander about naked. You?" James shot a harsh glare at the ridiculous woman. Lisa just could not help it. She first wanted to get along with him correctly, but this man had an unusual capacity to create a disagreement with his nasty words. She was just not used to dealing with him. James decided to quit communicating with this woman. He grabbed up his blanket and proceeded towards the couch. Seeing this, Lisa cried out, "I'll sleep on the couch."